Previously on the Hill.
I'm sorry, I can't deal. If we can't say what we're telling Kerry to say, then what good are we?
I'm not comfortable not talking about the failures of the administration the way I talk about it.
You said 10 more minutes, so...
She wants 10 minutes, I'll give her 10 minutes.
10 minutes is not 10 minutes. 10 minutes equals 30 minutes.
Any interest?
Excuse me, could you tell me what you're doing here?
They're all pro-Bush here, and they're just mean.
They're excited to vote, and if this is any indication, John Kerry's the next president of the United States.
I earned capital in the campaign, political capital, and now I intend to spend it.
I think there needs to be a change of strategy. You know, we have to stand for what we believe in.
Move her down. Yeah, move her down so that her bottom is, the bottom of that one is equivalent to Shimon Peres's bottom. No, the bottoms. Yeah, so there's a straight line. I'd move Al Gore. What I was thinking is, if you just do that.
Okay, so we're moving Sigourney down.
And then take this out. Who wants Skittles?
It was hard to come back after the election. It was very hard. Physically and emotionally, I felt just exhausted. It was very depressing. On Inauguration Day, I scheduled a root canal to symbolize my feelings on that day. It was very difficult for all of us. You know, November and December, Congress doesn't do anything, so it was slow around here, and Congress really didn't get back into session until the end of January.
Tomorrow, President Bush will be welcomed on Capitol Hill with courtesy, ceremony, and old traditions. Then the fighting will begin over his main second-term goal, overhauling Social Security.
We're going to meet about Social Security, John. We're going to meet about Social Security, blah, blah, blah.
In the context of the Social Security debate, the president out there, he's proposed privatization and he's proposed benefit cuts. And Democrats have done a good job establishing that neither privatization cures the problem and benefit cuts are not fair and haven't provided the alternative. I thought we ought to provide an alternative.
The president has given us this wonderful gift of making the entire country focus on saying that Social Security needs to be fixed. Go into any poll and ask Americans which party they trust more to fix Social Security. They're going to trust the party that created Social Security every time. Mm-hmm. So, you know, he's basically turned the focus on an issue that we win on, and we're squandering it.
Can you help me get this out?
We're going to turn it on its side.
Oh, that's a really good idea.
I know, I'm pretty smart.
I look good. I think the life of a Hill staffer is really only as interesting as their boss. So being the foreign policy LA for someone like Robert, who is extremely interested in foreign policy, makes me one of the luckiest people, I think, on the Hill.
We absolutely will release Robert's statement tomorrow. Put a little thing in the blurb about being the largest event, on Sudan on the Hill, and Robert was the lead on this, blah, 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 blah. And this is the statement that he gave at the hearing.
I'm David Rubenstein. Nice to meet you. Pleasure to meet you. If you could give us a crash course, I'll speak for myself. I greatly appreciate it.
To understand Darfur, you need to recognize that since 1956, when Sudan got its independence, it has been at war for all but 11 of those years. As far as I know, a little over 2 million people have been displaced because their villages have been burned out. It's genocide. It's the worst humanitarian crisis in the world.
From a congressional point of view, what would you suggest be done?
We need to tell America that this counts. But what's much more important is that the president needs to get engaged in this. The president needs to speak out. The president needs to say, I called it genocide, and I'm going to use the resources of the American government to stop the violence.
The Bush White House is in turmoil, but the president's right-hand man is still on the job, though not out of legal jeopardy. The prosecutor won't name names, but Rove remains under investigation. Complicating the politics of the moment for Rove is this dynamic. A White House that once adamantly said Rove had no role in the leak at issue has clammed up, now that it is clear he did talk to reporters.
What if we stuck an amendment to increase the penalties for revealing the names of intelligence operatives during a time of war, tied into the Patriot Act?
I mean, I think it makes sense, especially what's going on right now, and it will probably get attention.
I'm sure. Think about that. Look at a lot of publicity.
I'm all for this if we could make it fit properly.
I just think you're going to have a hard time making that germane.
Of course they're going to make it ingermane. That's a Republican, and there's no way they're going to make this germane.
See if there's a way to make it fit into the Patriot Act, knowing that they will object.
My amendment would strengthen existing protections and make veil or leading comments that a person has or should have reason to believe would be sufficient to identify undercover intelligence officers qualified as providing materials for terrorism. Very nice. I wouldn't change a word.
Excellent. Yeah.
Just like any,
And this is very good. I gotta hand it to you.
Thank you.
This is written very well, but I'm just wondering what this subjects the person to.
Make the person, in effect, not a patriot.
Carl Rove, you are not a patriot.
Maybe we should say knowingly reveals. Because
Well, but
as opposed to if you reveal something and you don't realize you're revealing it. That's possible. Carl Rove knowingly revealed information.
I mean, I think that we will just be able to make it if he rushes from the Sudan event.
Okay, well, I'll push him out at the Sudan event.
Well, I don't directly deal with the press. We have a press secretary, but I'm definitely expecting we'll have press. But you should
Actually, just grab him for some of these votes. That would be helpful.
This is his event.
I know, but if he could step out for 10
talk
minutes.
to Haley about that one.
So trying to figure out a way that he can do both, because he needs to make these votes, and obviously he needs to also be at your Sudan event.
Well, it's his Sudan event.
All right. Do you know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying, but it's his event. He's the moderator. He introduces everyone.
We'd like to get him back because we want to get this amendment, and his amendment is going to come up. So.
But it's just she just has to vote.
But he then has to offer his amendment.
He's going to offer his amendment. So the sooner that we can get him out of there, the better.
Okay, I'm nauseous. You can take your seat. Just identify where you're going to be sitting. Hi. Give me a story. Very nice to meet you. Unfortunately, because we had to get a bigger room, I could not have a raised dais. But that's the best I can do. What we're going to do is we're going to have the members stand up here for more of a press shot, and my boss will call you up to speak. Then you'll answer some questions. If your staff helping someone that's here, please take a seat back there. Okay, everyone, please take a seat.
First, I'd like to welcome everyone who has joined with us in this unprecedented bipartisan demonstration of support for Darfur. We raise our voices in unison, calling on the Sudanese government to bring these atrocities to an end. Humanity cannot afford to sit back as genocide further unfolds once again before our eyes. We must raise our voices in hope and prayer for the people of Darfur before it is too late.
That would be great. Yeah, I think so. Okay.
Amendment to H.R. 3199, offered by Mr. Wexler of Florida.
This amendment would strengthen existing protections by characterizing veiled or leading comments that identify undercover intelligence officers or agents as providing material support for terrorism. Those Americans, no matter how prominent or powerful they may be, who compromise the identity of our intelligence operatives are doing nothing short of providing material support for terrorism. They undermine the security of the United States and should be subject to prosecution under the Patriot Act.
Gentleman from Iowa, Mr. King.
I thank the chairman, and I think I read about 4 words into this amendment before I identified this as the Karl Rove Amendment. It's already a crime to divulge this information, and or should have reason to believe is about as ambiguous as anything I've ever read and anything that's come before this committee. So I'd urge a no vote on the Wexler Amendment.
One has only to peruse the vast majority of the Patriot Act to look and find vague language.
The reason that I said I haven't seen language this ambiguous is because of the phrase or should have reason to believe. And since that time, we've confirmed that that language doesn't exist anywhere in the U.S. Code.
How about we make a deal? If Mr. King is right, and the language is not in the U.S. Code, and therefore it is so nebulous, I'll withdraw the amendment. But if it is in the U.S. Code, then we accept it, because then clearly it's not nebulous, and we've got the criminal law that already exists. That's fair, right?
Maybe the gentleman could withdraw his amendment. We can look further in the U.S. Code, and he can always reoffer it.
What did I get out of that deal?
The commitment, you can reoffer it.
Chairman certainly seems quite genuine, so I would respect his wishes if that's the case.
I really feel like this is 5:30 and this is way too late. I should have sent this out 2 hours ago.
What do you mean? I mean,
I'm not blaming you, but it's still not done.
well, I didn't expect for him, to withdraw the fucking amendment in the committee. When he did that, I was like, what
But that doesn't, you don't need to have a vote to have a press release.
During the interim, since the gentleman from Florida offered this amendment previously, we had the Office of Law Revision Counsel do a U.S. Code search using the word should have reason to believe. The result of the search is 0 documents found, 0 returned.
It comes back to, this is my information. There are multiple uses of has reason to believe, but there are no occurrences of should have reason to believe or has or should have reason to believe. But
So ridiculous.
Not to belabor the point, have reason to believe, has reason to believe, and all of that doesn't get to the issue. The issue is, if a person provides information which that person reasonably would believe would disclose the identity of a covert agent, do you think it ought to be actionable, or do you think it ought to be just okay?
During my time, my statement was,
Robert didn't ask for a vote. No, they just did a voice vote. He's asked for the amendment to be withdrawn today. He didn't ask for a vote.
You should have asked for a recorded vote on that.
Well,
Put those guys on record.
we didn't get a recorded vote. We got a.
No, he can ask for a recorded vote. He didn't. I don't know why he didn't.
You guys are going to see Wedding Crashers tonight. I can't wait. I'm going to go see it tomorrow night. I can't wait.
What is this?
Oh no. I have a date tomorrow night. I'm going to go see it.
This looks different.
Mm-hmm. I would love to go with you guys, but. Yes. Nice. Mm-hmm.
What is this?
He's a Republican now. He's a nice, he's a good Republican.
Which form is
there? Are.
No, yeah, hello, there's no such thing.
There are. He's like a nice guy. He's a nice guy.
He's a nice guy, but he doesn't share your values.
He shares my values.
Maybe you shouldn't be working here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I told him that he works at the evil empire. He knows.
What is it that makes him?
He's a really nice guy. Send me a
I'm a nice guy. Lolly means hot.
solid months, the president has been crisscrossing the country, relentlessly pitching his plan to overhaul Social Security, reassuring seniors.
But if you've retired, the system is in good shape for you.
And painting a dire picture.
Social Security is headed for deep trouble.
But Mr. Bush has little to show for all this effort. In the most recent ABC News poll, his approval rating on Social Security is at a career low. Democrats are downright gleeful.
I think I've read every newspaper article ever printed about Social Security. So now tell me the truth.
First and foremost, just say, let's look at the numbers, because everything that they try to do is building a scare story. Let's say the economy grew 3.4% a year. We're fine for the 75-year planning horizon. Now, do we ultimately face a problem? Yeah, because we're living longer.
Under the congressional numbers, if we do nothing, through 2052, every American gets full 100% benefits. And then after that, you get 80%, which is higher than the benefit the president has proposed as his guaranteed benefit.
So that tells you why they have to have the crisis story. Because if you were to go out there and go, in 47 years we'll face a shortfall, we wouldn't be able to pay full scheduled benefits, no one would buy it.
This was great. You really, you present this exceedingly well.
I won't underestimate how well.
No. Listen, it's not one, and we would be fools to ever underestimate these people because they've outsmarted us 100 times. Anyhow, but.
Thank you.
Sure, nice meeting you.
I do a second for me to pick your brain.
Sure.
What are the arguments against just raising the cap on 90,000 to fix Social Security?
Most people would say that that's probably one of the fairer, more reasonable things. But if anybody were to really propose it, there would be a pretty quick adverse reaction because that's a fairly significant tax increase.
We are definitely running into a great deal of pressure. I mean, we have the second largest number of Social Security people in the country.
But you've also got to be reminding people that this Social Security gap is 40 to 50 years away. And why should Democrats be under some obligation to offer a plan in response to a president's plan that doesn't exist yet?
Yeah,
I can't. I'm with you all the way till they get to the point of let's offer nothing.
Let's offer nothing. I know. I can't believe that either.
To me, that's untenable. I know what could happen if we offer a plan. We could lose the presidential election, lose seats in the Senate, and lose seats in the House.
Well, we've done that.
We did that, and we didn't offer anything.
We did that
so
twice.
Let's try offering something.
Right.
God.
They feel like they're making huge headways in the press, and that they have all this good press because the president doesn't have a plan. So if they don't do a plan, then they don't have to.
They're wrong.
They don't have to answer. I understand that they're wrong, and I totally
Do you feel like
agree
we're
with
making
you.
big decisions? We should be saying let the president come out with this plan and react to it. Your people don't trust the president, but I think someone in your district with your constituency can do this.
Yeah, but they aren't.
Virtually without a problem, and in fact look courageous for doing it. And some Democrats will distance themselves from it, but Wexler's saying no benefit cuts. It's the Social Security Forever Act. This fixes it for good with never cutting
name.
a benefit.
Yeah, that's a good name.
Yeah, write that down.
Never cut a benefit, ever. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They gave the Social Security surplus away in a tax cut, and now they're saying there's a crisis. Yeah. I don't think Joe Person gets that. You can ask it this way. I won't vote for a bill that either cuts benefits, changes the formula, or diverts money.
Will you?
Will you?
I agree.
Yeah.
I
So
agree.
and then
That
you
is
can just
shot.
say- and then
I
all you can
agree.
say is
I
that-
agree.
Okay.
I think that's perfect.
Urging Democrats to join me in offering a plan that will strengthen Social Security, ensure that all
Yeah,
Americans.
exactly. Because everybody knows. I mean, that basically outlines what's. Oh, what are you doing, Howard Dean? What's Robert doing? Is he calling him today?
Yeah, he's going to call later tonight.
Okay. Well, I wish I would have known about that.
I think he did know that he wanted to talk to Howard Dean to see if he thinks that we're on the right track. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Howard, it's Robert. How are you? Well, the American people trust Democrats on Social Security. And I disagree vehemently with what the president has proposed. As one Democrat who is privileged to be in the United States Congress, it's time for me to show up. And by lifting the cap on Social Security wages, it's fair and it's reasonable. You know, Howard, indirectly, you're telling me how much money you make now, you know. If you don't know these numbers. No, I know that. If you did make the cap, you would know what it is. That's my point.
So basically, it was, I don't want to date you, it's over,
I mean, we had some heated discussions and some disagreements on stuff, and he just decided that we were not compatible, and he wasn't like feeling our relationship, I guess, so whatever. I mean, we didn't date that long, so it's not like I'm like totally heartbroken over it, but all of a sudden we're talking about making plans and then we're breaking up. I don't know what's going on in his mind, but you know, maybe he's just got some stuff in his life to figure out, but I just won't be around when he figures it out.
Do you want to see a real bachelor's fridge? Come look at my fridge. I don't know how to cook. Just take a look. Imagine what I have in there. I can drink Gatorade and drink water. And that's it. No cooking.
I dated a couple of Republicans. I don't know what my problem is. Like, they're nice guys, and then it's like, bang, you're drinking the Kool-Aid. Okay, it's a little much for me, and so I don't know. My pathetic, like, boring love life. It's like all I do, Robert Wexler all the time.
Eric, can you come here for a second with this email? Because I'm really annoyed. I'm really annoyed. With this little Sudan event for Haley, she's really disappointed that we didn't get more press and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I understand why you're annoyed. I don't disagree. John, come here, please. Regarding Haley's disappointment in the Sudan press, I'm extremely disappointed the Sudan event didn't get more press.
I'm a little personally offended.
Dear Lolly.
Yeah, dear me.
I realize it's not your fault, and please do not take this personally, but I would like to make an attempt to get this in the Jewish press in the district. Can Robert, blah, 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 blah. I'm okay with the idea of Robert doing an op-ed on the Sudan for the Jewish Journal, but I don't want to do it if we don't have time to do that.
Okay.
I don't want to call them.
Because I don't think we have anything else with them for, and they usually print. Yeah.
He's not a player on this particular issue, and I did my thing. Yeah, I just feel like...
Stop feeling. Less feeling, please. More doing.
I know that I called all those people, and I told them, and they basically said, we don't care.
Were you talking about my email?
Yes. I don't want to railroad Robert into it. If Robert wants to do it, then I'm okay with doing a op-ed on the Sudan, to the Jewish Journal.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't pick up on it more.
Because, partially because they don't care, partially because they don't see him as particularly relevant to it, which is going to take time to build that.
Palm Beach Post sent somebody, but they may have just cut the story. I mean, she may have written a story, and then they said, sorry, we don't have room for it. So that's just how it goes. I mean, people are either interested or they're not, but everyone got it, everyone knew about it.
And we're joined now by the House Democratic leader, Nancy Pelosi. Let's start with Social Security. Why the reluctance to come forward with a specific plan that would show how you would get Social Security to solvency?
This proposal that the president put forth on Friday is an assault on the middle class.
But it's still a better deal than doing nothing.
No, it isn't, because you're not saying doing nothing.
Tomorrow in roll call, they are going to be very nasty to you, but of course they're not saying who they are. And evidently one person said, you sat in the back of the room by yourself, and maybe if you came to caucus meetings a little bit more, that you would know what's going on with the Democrats. And she said, well, I understand he had several conversations with Mrs. Pelosi, and he had a conversation with Mr. Hoyer, and I said, these are private conversations. He has, the utmost respect for Mrs. Pelosi and Mr. Hoyer, and, I kept it very, if we go and attack and go out there, we're playing their game, and I think it's bullshit.
These Democrats can be as nasty as Republicans. This is exactly what George Bush and that administration would do to their own when they spoke out.
They're causing
cannibalize them.
They're causing this issue to be bigger than it is.
But it's really not. Exactly.
In a
And it's
bizarre
like,
way.
but you want to know something? It is staff that is starting
Right.
this shit.
Yeah.
That they're starting stuff, and that they don't have the guts to say on the record any of this. And I think it's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
And it pisses me off. He's going to the Egyptian thing, and then we have to go and do Fox at 4:30 in the Capitol as well, in the large house studio.
Okay. So let's just start talking about our plan. This is the right thing for Democrats to be doing. By the way, Bill Clinton said Democrats should have a plan.
This is what Bill Clinton said.
I agree with Bill Clinton. I agree with Carville and Greenberg. In fact, let me think about it. Those are the last three teams Democrats that actually won an election around here. So
I can print Carville's.
I mean, no joke.
Go ahead, Cap Hill.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, you know what? Sit on your jacket.
Get over here, just
Sorry. You've got the. It's like puckering. There.
Okay. Well, the president has been traveling the country, and the plan that he offered has massive benefit cuts for Social Security.
It also has this very risky privatization scheme. And what I believe should be done
is that there absolutely should be no benefit cuts. We shouldn't be raising the retirement age. And the only way, it seems, or the best way to offer an honest plan
was to do what seems to be most equitable, raise the cap on taxable
All right, now,
wages.
Congressman, we can quibble over the details of your plan, but I will tip my hat to you. At least you've got a plan. Now, your leadership was essentially saying, Congressman, don't give them a plan. And they seem to almost threaten you if you push this.
And how about your leadership? What did Ms. Pelosi have to say? Why go up against what your party wanted you to do? If it's not a crisis, if your party didn't want you right now to put something on the table, why'd you do it?
What is that you wear like when you're in trouble? Like, is it the dunce cap?
Yeah.
You wear the dunce cap?
I should do that. I should do
So
that.
when they called me today, and then that was like the picture I had in my head. You in the back of the room with the dunce cap on, being punished.
That's right.